podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
6 more teams fall by the wayside, but for the remaining 8, the dream lives on. There will be new Super Bowl champions after the Eagles had their wings clipped in the link. The Panthers purred, but ultimately faltered, and the Jaguars showed teeth, but still they couldn't bring down Buffalo in Jacksonville. The Bears grated cheese, the Patriots had too much power for the Chargers, and the Texans blunted steel in Pittsburgh. Now, the number 1 seeds enter the fray, so what are we waiting for? Let's turn the page and look ahead to the divisional round of the playoffs in the NFL.
Graves on Gridiron with Richard Graves.
Hello, welcome along to the show. This is Graves on Gridiron. I am your host, Richard Graves. If you're watching via YouTube, you will see alongside me, all the way from India, is Charles Dagnall. Great to see you, Daggers. It has been sub-zero for the past week here in the UK, and all I see is a big beaming face in T-shirt and shorts. I'm sick.
Well, yeah, and this is exactly why I chose to have this backdrop for this particular podcast. I am sat on the roof of our hotel here in Navi Mumbai. It has got a little bit colder today, Richard. It's just dropped to 31 degrees. So I'm afraid, maybe I was thinking about a light jumper, but I'll stick to my T-shirt and shorts. Having a great time out here covering the WPL, and just thought I'd make you insanely jealous by my surroundings and the warmth which I am surrounded by.
Well, I'm glad you're having a good time, and I'm glad you're feeling smug, because let's bring you back down to earth with an almighty bump. I saw a social media post on Sunday morning, and all it said was, I can feel the smugness of Richard Graves from here. Would you like to tell the listeners why that is?
So this is regarding our one difference from the last episode of Graves on Gridiron. Where we had 5 out of the 6, we actually had the same kind of thoughts, maybe for differing reasons, but we picked the same. Our one point of difference was the Packers-Bears game, where you had gone for the Chicago Bears, I had gone for the Green Bay Packers. And for 58 minutes of that game, I was, I say at halftime, I was rubbing my hands with glee. The Packers were up by 18 points, and I was just thinking, well, just see it out, Matt LaFleur, see it out, Jordan Love. Just feed the rock and just kill time. And the Chicago Bears, as you had predicted, I will give you your flowers, you had predicted that they are the second half team, which they have been all season. And they came back, won it at the death, and my heart sank, not because I had any leaning towards any team in particular, it's because I knew you were there, watching, smiling, laughing, and just in a world of smugness. So I had to get out in front of it, like any good politician would. They get out in front of it rather than wait for the reaction. So I got out in front of it on social media to just say that you would have been sat there feeling enormously smug. With your prediction.
There's no smugness here, Daggers. I take no joy in seeing your despair.
But what I do have to say is that of those 5 picks that we agreed on, it was only that one that could have separated each other. And for you to come on and having invited me on so graciously for the playoff period to Goes on Gridiron, I now feel like a complete chump. So yes, you can. I give you your flowers. Well played, you. All is fair in love and American football. But yeah, I was smarting for a good while. Great game there.
Well, it's been a superb weekend of games, hasn't it? With the exception maybe of the final one on Monday night, which I guess the purists might have said for 2.5 quarters was superb because it was a defensive struggle between the Steelers and Texans. The final scoreline does not tell the story. Neither offense could get out of their own way. And the Texans were only 7-6 up with about 4 minutes remaining in the third quarter. Then Will Anderson Jr. made a play. Sheldon Rankins took it to the house, blew the game wide open, and the rest is history. But just going back to that Bears-Packers game, so interesting things came out of it. We spoke about it on the show last week. The Packers made the bold move to trade for Micah Parsons for just those situations. You go into the second half on the road, you're up by 18. I am convinced if Parsons is on the field, the Bears do not come back and win that game. So you can bemoan your bad luck in Green Bay in that instance, and the astonishing statistic I saw come out of that game. Remember, these two teams in the same division, the NFC North. So this was the third meeting of the season between the two teams. Tell me, across those 3 games, how many offensive plays the Bears snapped the ball with the lead?
Go on.
Precisely nada.
Really?
0.
Really?
Do you know how many snaps the Packers had across those 3 games?
Oh, go on.
106.
Yeah.
And they lost
I was going to go about 35 to 40 a game, and that just tells you that. And this is why there have been question marks in Green Bay about Matt LaFleur. You're 18 points up in a playoff game on the road. You have completely nullified the Soldier Field.
You have to win that game.
You've got to win. That is why this is where you earn your corn. Getting through the regular season is one thing, but it's when it counts. And unfortunately, Green Bay have come up short. And yes, you can bemoan the fact that Micah Parsons wasn't playing. And I'm with you. If Micah Parsons is playing in that game, the disruptor that he has got a license for the rest of the second half to just go at Caleb Williams. And if you give a player like that sort of leeway and that kind of situation, that is when they, in turn, earn their money. And that's the situations they thrive on. So, yes, but these things happen, these injuries, and you've got to scheme against it. I still think Jeff Hafley is a fantastic defensive coordinator. But also, I thought there was a really well-played second half by Ben Johnson and some of the calls that he made.
They didn't panic.
But they didn't panic at all. Caleb Williams, I thought, made some really good plays. That 4th down play where he was off his feet and throwing. And how on earth he managed to complete that pass. And I think he actually got a game ball from Ben Johnson because of it. I did like the sort of feistiness between the two coaches. And,
I've got to tell you, I loved it. I thought it was brilliant.
I think it's brilliant. And the fact is that, and with Ben Johnson, first-year coach of the Chicago Bears, that we've got to look forward to that for the next decade or so. You would imagine, should he be there for any length of time. But it was that moment, that pass from Caleb Williams, where I think things changed in the minds of Green Bay. And to come back from 18 points down, Richard, you've got to give them their props. And and once they got the crowd back on side, you could feel it. Soldier Field was buzzing. And they thrive on that, and they have done for the majority of the season.
And do you know what the beauty of it is, Daggers? I've had Bears fans get in touch with me since that game and openly admit we still don't know whether we're a good team or not.
Yeah.
And that really pertains to the entertaining nature of this Ben Johnson Bears side this season. The only other thing that I wanted to bring up before we move on to the divisional round, Daggers, and I don't know how you felt about this watching these games as you did out there in India, but people, in my opinion, coaches, come on. You've been in the game long enough. You've got to play the game situation. And yet all I heard all weekend was analytics say go for it on 4th down. At least 3 teams in the playoffs for me bemoaned going for it on 4th down instead of either playing field position or taking the 3 points on offer. And those decisions in the final outcome proved pivotal. You look at Carolina, they did it on their own 40-yard line, was it, in the first game? You look how close that ended up being. The Jags were the same, turned down 3 points. The Bears got out of jail with it, to be fair, against Green Bay. But I look at some of these games and like, come on, it's win or go home. The game isn't decided in the first quarter. You can't win it in the first quarter, but you can go a long way to putting yourself behind the 8 ball.
I couldn't agree with you more. There is a way to play, and analytics does play its part, and I understand that. And it's all analytics are for me, and it happens in all sports, Richard. It happens in my sport, in cricket. And there are, you can look at the stats and look at the data, and on any given day, that may or may not work. All it is information to guide you. It's not there to tell you what to do. And I think in playoff football, it is a completely different scenario to regular season football. I think, given what's on offer, you take the points. I go back to Mike Tomlin, and I know the Steelers got absolutely drilled, but they were deep in Texans territory in the first quarter. Let's get 3 on the board. Now, I know it doesn't matter in the long run, but that is, for me, good playoff football. He then decided, when they're 3-0 up, to actually go for it on 4th down in the next instant. And that, again, was a good situation, they're up in the game. So your chances of, if it doesn't convert, well, you've still got a lead. And I think those gut feels, and will talk about Mike Tomlin, and maybe that's not a great example given the final score, but I think he knows how to coach in the playoffs, and when you have points available, get them on the board. Absolutely.
Completely. And the best example of that for me, as a final word on this, is the San Francisco 49ers, because for a lot of that game in Philadelphia, they were up against it, but they stayed in the game. They kept themselves within one score, and then it took a trick play to blow it open, but they were in position to be able to make that call and snap the ball and try a bit of trickery, and they ended up winning the game. It's about playing the 60 minutes. Keeping yourself in with a chance.
Stay in touch. Absolutely couldn't agree more, because this is one off. You know, the penalty for losing is your season being over. So you have to if you are behind, you've got to try and stay in touch. I know the Chicago Bears have blown that out of the water with a huge second half comeback, but generally speaking, that is the exception rather than the rule.
Okay, that's the wildcard weekend out of the way. It's time for Charles Dagnall, a.k.a. Jurgen Klopp lookalike, and me to put my headset on. If you're wondering what the heck I'm talking about, wow, my world was open, Daggers, over the last week. I found ChatGPT and pulled up a thumbnail which had you looking like Jurgen Klopp, me looking like a NFL football coach on the sideline. I loved it. There's going to be another one to promote this episode, let me assure you, this week.
Do you want me to tell you something that will make you sad?
Yes.
So you used ChatGPT. I have used ChatGPT in the time. Now, this is not an advert for that particular AI model, but my daughter, who's been mentioned before, she went, "Oh, ChatGPT, yeah, that's AI for old people." And my heart sank. It absolutely sank, because I thought I was being really with it by using something on AI. And she went, "Yeah, that's the AI for old people. We use this and that and the other." And I was like,
well, okay, hang on, Daggers. Wait, this show is nothing if it's not progressive. What's hip with the kids? What does your daughter use?
Do you know what? I don't even know. She is so ahead of me when it comes to technology. Like I think I'm quite cool using my phone and having these little apps for whatever. Everything is. Do you want? Let me take it back. It's when me and you used to have to set the video, like our VHS recorder, the clock, because my dad couldn't do it, or adjust the tracking on the tapes and all of that sort of stuff, because we had these enormous, or Betamax or whatever it was. This is this generation's version of that.
Well, I'm willing to accept it. I'm pretty proud of us right now, Daggers.
I thought you were great. I loved it.
Thank you. Well, and I'm assuming that applies to picks, because this is the record going into the divisional round. Daggers, you are at an even 500, having gone 3-3 against the line in wildcard weekend. By virtue of the Bears' astonishing comeback, I am one game ahead of you at 4-2. Don't like to blow my own trumpet, but there's an NFL picks table that the NFL have put on their website. I did that for outright winners. I am a perfect 6-0 entering the divisional round. So I've set the bar pretty high. You were on the fence all last week, and your record reflects that, quite frankly. So
it does. It does. And it just goes to show that I am very much like, you know how dogs that look like their owners? Well, I look like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at this moment in time. You couldn't look more further away than the Dallas Cowboys, may I say. But I'm very much a 500 team.
I'm willing to overlook that slight on a team I may or may not be partial to. But we are going to move on anyway. It's the divisional round. We have just 8 teams remaining. 8 teams still have the dream alive of raising the Lombardi Trophy in Santa Clara, San Francisco at Levi Stadium on February the 8th. And we kick off Saturday night, 9:30 p.m. UK time, in the AFC, with the number 1 seeded team, the Denver Broncos, entering the fray, hosting the Buffalo Bills. It's a titanic clash-up.
Oh, yeah.
And there's so much on the line. We spoke about this last week with Sean McDermott and the pressure on him going to Jacksonville, getting the win. They had to fight all the way to do that. Now you've got to go to the rarefied air in Denver, Mile High Stadium, Investec Field. and this formidable Broncos record when playing at home. They've only lost once there in the last 2 seasons. That was to the Jags. So believe me, there's a number of Broncos fans that are pleased Jacksonville aren't going there. But now the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen, the weight of expectation, the weight of this team and offense on his shoulders have to take on this formidable defense.
Yeah, and again, mouth-watering fixtures all down the line. And there are numerous factors that come into this, Richard, don't you think? That, the Bills can feel a little aggrieved that they are the first game on the Saturday. They've had to travel to Jacksonville. They've got to go home, and then they've got to travel to Middle America to face on Denver on a slightly shortened week. But, if you don't win your division, and that's the territory it comes with. And they were beat up. I mean, Josh Allen, what was it? He had
he took some hits.
Yeah, he took some hits. He threw a ball and his hand went into the back of a helmet. His knee was dinged up. He really was punished hard by the Jacksonville defense. So, he's banged up a little bit, but there just seems an element of destiny about the Buffalo Bills. But you've mentioned it. You're coming into a city and a stadium where the record in Denver is so good. They have had a week off. They are going to be fresh. They are going to be revved up, as will the Mile High crowd. It is a mouth-watering fixture. I just wonder. I mean, I before we came on, or before we did the podcast, I sort of said, a bit like Kevin Costner in the film Draft Day, where he went, Vontae Mack, no matter what. I picked my 4 teams, no matter what. But it is a tall order, given how the Buffalo Bills played and what they had to deal with in Jacksonville. Again, credit to Jacksonville with the way they played. It was really a pick-em game down there. But the millstone around Buffalo Bills was that they couldn't win a playoff game on the road. Sean McDermott has now done that. But it is a slightly different scenario, don't you think, when going to Sean Payton, Bo Nix, and the Denver Broncos?
Massively so. And when you consider the Buffalo Bills under Sean McDermott in the playoffs, they have a perfect 6-0 record when playing against wildcard teams. When they play against divisional winners, they're 2-7. And one of those wins obviously came last week in Jacksonville. So depending whichever way you want to mock that up, they've either got that monkey off their back or it's still something that plays in their mind. And now they come up against a Denver Broncos team, which leads the league this season with 68 sacks. So if Josh Allen thought he had a rough time last weekend, it's going to get no easier this time around either. And again, we spoke about the Jags matchup last weekend and said, what's the strength of the Buffalo Bills? It's running the football. The number 1 ranked rushing team in the NFL, averaging a lick under 160 yards per game on the ground. They were going up against the top running defense last weekend. Well, it gets better this week because it's the number 2 ranked rushing defense that the Denver Broncos bring into this game. They're giving up around 91 yards a game. And once again, you feel that's where this game will be won and lost. And what we have seen on the odd occasion during the regular season when teams have had success against the Broncos defense is they've been able to make plays through the air, which might come as a surprise because you look at the 2 corners, Patrick Surtain, a stud, if not the best defensive back in the NFL right now. And occasionally you can accuse, I think, the Broncos defense of perhaps taking the foot off the gas, maybe not playing at full pace. That's not going to happen this weekend. No. They've all been sat on their backsides for 2 weeks watching everybody else play. It's been a long time since Broncos fans were able to fill out their stadium and host a playoff game. Do you know how long ago it was, Daggers?
Go on.
10 years ago. What happened 10 years ago? They won the Super Bowl. Where did they win it? Levi Stadium, Santa Clara, Super Bowl 50. Look, if you believe in this sort of thing, you might say the stars are lining up for the Denver Broncos this time. My only question, and it has been all season, has been around their offense. But I do think through December, Bo Nix has shown a marked improvement in his play. And you've got Sean Payton on the sideline, one of the best offensive minds in football.
Yeah, very much so. But I know I was reading that Sean Payton wasn't happy with their last outing, despite being victorious. He wasn't happy offensively in the way that the Denver Broncos moved the ball. So they'll have been working very, very hard. He's a hard taskmaster. He's you've got to do a lot of things right to make him happy. I just feel, though, and this is where I'm going to lean towards and put my first marking of the card.
Well, before you do, let me tell you, Denver are 1-point favourites. So the bookies aren't confident of a home win.
No. And I think when it's playoff time, when you've got these divisional round, and I think this is usually the best weekend in football, when the number one seeds come to play as well. You got the winners of the wild card. We were spoilt last week in wild card round because of the quality of the games that we got to witness. But I just think that without Burrow and without Lamar and without Patrick Mahomes, the real stud QB is Josh Allen. He carries a team on his back, and I think there are certain places, and I'm just going to go back a few years to when the Bucs had their Super Bowl run, and they had to go to Green Bay. And I think there are certain quarterbacks that can deal with weather, a rowdy fan base in difficult circumstances when you're on the road. And I think there's certain quarterbacks that can deal with that. There's some that I don't think potentially can. Would I trust necessarily Bo Nix going into Buffalo in the cold weather? I don't think I'd trust him as much because he doesn't have the CV that a Josh Allen does. And I think if there is one person, and we'll talk about the Rams-Bears a little later on, but there's a couple of quarterbacks who have that experience, do not let it bother them, and who thrive on that particular kind of setting, it is Josh Allen. I'm leaning on the Buffalo Bills. I think they're going to win the game, 1-point spread, obviously, so I'm taking the Bills. And I think they'll manage to get James Cook going a little bit better than they did against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I really believe that. And I think Josh Allen uses his legs. This Buffalo Bills offensive line is actually a little bit underrated, I think. And I think they are good when they are pounding the ball. That opens up those sort of mid-routes for players like Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakir. And I just think that, remember, this is Bo Nix in the playoffs, who hasn't got a great deal of experience. You talk about expectation. You've named all of the things that are going the Denver Broncos way. The fact that they've got this amazing record at home, the fact that they've got, a squad that is relatively fit as well, and they've had a week off. I'm taking the Buffalo Bills. I feel it's a kind of destiny year for Josh Allen and that side.
That's the second time I've heard you mention the word destiny, and in the space of 2 episodes, and you've now used it for 2 different teams.
Yeah.
Do we get it changes next week as well? I mean, you need to clarify this for us.
Which team did I use it for in the first instance?
I want to say the New England Patriots.
No. Remember, I pick my teams of destiny, one from each conference, Richard. You must keep up.
Was it the 49ers?
The team of destiny might well have got knocked out in the wildcard round.
Oh, dear, Buffalo. That doesn't bode well. I'm going to tell you right off the bat, we're going to disagree on this first pick.
Okay.
Remember, it was a 1-point game we disagreed on with the Bears and Packers last week. I edged that one. Will that be the case this time around? Well, I'm going to call this the Broncos' revenge game, because who did they get knocked out of the playoffs by 12 months ago? It was in Buffalo. It was the Bills. You look at the scoreline, you say, blowout, 31 points to 7. It was nothing of the kind. Bo Nix, on his playoff debut, actually played surprisingly well. And what was the reason I was so optimistic about his progression coming into this season? And I've said all along, for much of the regular season, I've been a bit disappointed with the way he's played. I expected more. I've seen more through December. And I think Sean Payton is and I don't know the answer to this question, by the way, Daggers, but how many times has he lost back-to-back games to the same opponent? Yeah. I can't believe it's many. And believe me, having had the extra week to prepare for this game, he will have pored over the playoff tape from last year. He'll have pored over the tape from last weekend, tried to find tells. What do Buffalo do well? What do they rely on? Little things like you heard in the commentary last week. When it's 4th and short for Buffalo and Josh Allen's sneaking, he has a tendency to go over left guard, left tackle. I promise you, Sean Payton is aware of that, and his defense will be going into this game. And you're playing once again in the rarefied air up at Mile High. I don't care what anybody says. Unless you've been there and spent several days in Denver at that altitude, you cannot appreciate what it does to you. And it does take a toll, especially if it's a tight game. And the Bills are coming into this. You said it as you looked ahead to the game. They were beat up last weekend. That was a tough physical game played in Jacksonville. I've got to believe it's going to be more of the same this time around. And I also have to believe that Sean Payton has some special offensive plays in his pocket, much like we saw with Kyle Shanahan in Philadelphia last week, that the Bills will not have seen coming into this game. I've said it all season. Their home record is phenomenal. I'm still amazed that the Jags got out of there with the win a month or so ago. I do not see Buffalo repeating that trick this time around. Give me the Denver Broncos. They're the number 1 seeded team in the AFC for a reason. 1-point favorites at home. Are you kidding me? I am taking that all day long and twice this Sunday night. Give me the Broncos to cover at -1.
All I will say to you is this. You had a pop at me for having splinters in my backside last week, okay? And just sitting on the fence and not really being able to... this week, I have decided to go completely against that and be so defined in my beliefs for the picks that I have made. So that is why I wrote them all down in my little book prior to starting this podcast. So I am going with the Buffalo Bills. I'm a little bit worried about their secondary. I'm worried about the travel. And it's that sort of thing that brings the
Daggers, if you want to flip-flop, then I will allow you to do that on this show right now.
No,
I think you have doubts.
Give me Buffalo. Give me Buffalo. Team of destiny.
Final answer.
Final answer. Buffalo all the way.
Okay, 1 game down. There are 3 still to go. Don't go away. We'll be back after these short messages.
Graves on Gridiron with Richard Graves.
Welcome back to Graves on Gridiron. We've already previewed the first matchup of the divisional round in the NFL playoffs in Denver as the Broncos host the Bills. Next up is the late game on Saturday night, Sunday morning. It's a 1 a.m. kickoff UK time, and it's the San Francisco 49ers going to their much hated and vaunted rivals, the Seattle Seahawks, the number 1 seeded team in the NFC. And why are they the number 1 seeded team? Because they took down the San Francisco 49ers in the final week of the regular season. Look, I would be surprised if there are 2 teams that know each other better than these two right now, Daggers. And I'm going to just put it out there right off the bat. How on earth is San Francisco here? You look at the injuries they've had on both sides of the ball, but particularly to defense this time around. And yet, here they are, another double-digit win season. They go into the home of the reigning Super Bowl champs and against all the odds get the job done with a phenomenal defensive display last weekend. But now they've got to go to Seattle and take on a Seahawks side whose defense finished the regular season ranked number 6 overall, number 1 in points allowed, only giving up 17.2 a game. What are your initial thoughts?
Well, I'm with you in that I'm staggered San Francisco. And it was great just that the camera panned across to Shanahan. And you could, every time the camera panned, you could almost see the cogs just working around, the scheming that he's come. And somehow he has managed to, with a bit of sticky tape and a bit of glue, he's managed to get a side together on the field. And not only that, scheme his way to victory in Philadelphia. Let's make no bones. These are the Super Bowl champs now. I know Philadelphia have their own problems on offense, but things like calling that reverse, what they call it, sky reverse blast bang or whatever it was called, with Juwan Jennings throwing it to Christian McCaffrey. Hell of a catch by McCaffrey, by the way. To call something different, to spot it. I thought the way he schemed and coached that game was absolutely phenomenal. And considering the players that he has out or the players that he's got to work with, and that is the the genius of Shanahan.
Do you know what I found surprising about that trick play that they called against Philadelphia? It was the fact that the Eagles weren't ready for it. It is not the first time we've seen it. 2 years ago in the Super Bowl in Las Vegas, that's how the San Francisco 49ers found the end zone. Exactly the same play to exactly the same player, Christian McCaffrey. And this is where I think the great coaches divide themselves from just the good coaches. Because if that had been Bill Belichick in his prime with the New England Patriots, I promise you that somewhere would have been on the defensive play calling sheet for his team. They'd have been aware of it. And what was very apparent to me was the Eagles defense had no idea it was coming and did not recognize it when it was forming.
And I thought it was actually a pretty good night other than that for the Eagles defense and the way that they picked off Brock Purdy a couple of times. I thought Purdy looked all right, actually. In that, I thought he looked a hell of a lot more composed than he did do last time out in Philadelphia. But when you come to this particular game, and they played each other the last game of the season, and it was a defensive struggle, 13 points to 3, and the Seattle defense absolutely dominated. And I sort of equate it a little bit, perhaps, to we always talk about offensive-minded coaches, and we talk about Ben Johnson, we talk about Carl Shanahan, and all of these wizards, Mike McDaniel, and all of these. But you don't talk about necessarily a brilliantly scheming defensive coordinator or a defensive coach. Maybe you talk about Robert Saleh. We talked about Jeff Hafley a little bit. But Mike McDonald, I think, is the sort of Shanahan version of the defense and how he has got that side playing. It is, I mean, I was impressed with Jacksonville at the weekend. I thought that, and the Houston Texans at the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, the Texans, DeMeco Ryans' defense was stellar. But I even think the Seattle Seahawks are a grade up from that. And when, again, we talk about home field advantage, I think it's a slightly different one in Seattle. It is that loud in that stadium. The 12th man, they will come to play. It'll be pretty average weather conditions. They've been practicing all, I think, outdoors with the starters playing against each other. And Mike McDaniel is going Mike McDonald is going to have them ready. My worry for Seattle is the play of Sam Darnold in the second half of the season. He started off in sort of MVP kind of rate. It has gone down. I'm not saying it's been terrible, but he hasn't been the same quarterback in the second half of the season as he has been in the first. And maybe that is coaches and defenses sort of wising up to the way that he's been playing. But you look at that Seattle running game, Kenneth Walker, Charbonnet, Jackson Smith and Jigma has had a season for the ages. I just
a lick under 1,800 receiving yards. It's been a phenomenal season for him.
I just wonder if this might be as good a schemer as Carl Shanahan is. I just wonder if this might just be a step too far for the San Francisco 49ers.
It comes as no surprise to me that the odds makers have Seattle heavy favourites playing at home. The 7.5-point favourites going into this game. But I will be honest with you. I'm not a believer in Sam Darnold. As well as he's played this season with Seattle, as well as he played during the regular season last year with Minnesota, I just feel when the lights are at their brightest and the pressure's most intense, he panics a little bit, he makes rash decisions, and he puts the ball in harm's way. That being said, you look across the field at what the 49ers have got to offer. They are decimated by injuries. You know, there was talk last week, wasn't there? Could Fred Warner make a miraculous comeback? Unsurprisingly, no, he didn't. But the job Robert Saleh's done with this 49ers defense, given all the injuries they've contended with over the course of the season, it is nothing short of phenomenal. And it's not like the stats leap off the page. You know, they're the 20th ranked overall defense. They're 11th in rush defense, 13th in points allowed. But they do enough and they make big plays at critical times to keep the team in the game. The offense has been equally as a surprise because whether it's been the receiving core that's been decimated or they've had issues running back, they've still managed to tick over and put points on the board, bar that trip in Week 18 to Seattle. Can they do it again? I'm not convinced they can. It is going to be a ferocious atmosphere up there in the Pacific Northwest. If you like football, you're going to want to tune into this game because it's going to have a big time atmosphere on Saturday night, Sunday morning. I think what the 49ers did last week was nothing short of incredible, going into the backyard of the reigning champions. Forget all the talk about the Eagles' offense and the issues they've got. They still put themselves in a position to win the game, and the 49ers had to find an answer. They did. That being said, you've touched upon it. Mike McDonald and this Seahawks defense. Big Leonard Williams leads them with sacks. Free agent acquisition DeMarcus Lawrence was supposedly washed up and done in Dallas. Well, he's been a revelation for Seattle this season as well. And they do make big-time plays in big-time moments. For Brock Purdy, as steady as he is, as good as he is, I asked a friend of mine who's a big 49ers fan during the game on Sunday night. And it was an honest question. In your opinion, has Brock Purdy had one singularly complete playoff game? Because I couldn't remember one off the top of my head. And recalled the Seahawks game in San Francisco a few years ago when, as I recall it, Brock Purdy came to the show in the second half, having seen Seattle surprise everybody in the first two quarters. He mentioned the Cowboys win they had in the playoffs in San Francisco 3 or 4 years ago. And I don't remember Brock Purdy being that impressive on that occasion. He flashes. He has moments. I'll tell you, I was there in Vegas for the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and he started the game first quarter and a half like a house on fire against the Chiefs and then just went away. I think if the 49ers to overcome Seattle, given their own adversity this weekend, Brock Purdy needs to have that complete game. And he couldn't really have chosen a tougher defense in a tougher place to need to do that. With that in mind, I think the Seahawks win this game. Do they win it by 7.5? Well, the playoffs do strange things. They force players into making decisions they wouldn't otherwise make because of the situation and the fact it demands it. It's win or go home. You'll take chances if you're behind the 8 ball. And for that reason and that alone, I think the Seahawks win and win big. Give me Seattle at minus 7.5.
I will take Seattle to win the game. I think it's going to be slightly closer than you believe it. I'm going to go under on the 7.5, but I still think Seattle win the game. I just think, I think Sam Darnold will be better served with the experience that he had at Minnesota in the playoffs last year. Now, he was like a rabbit in the headlights last time. He will know that, and I'm a sort of bit of a cheerleader for Sam Darnold. I think he was put into a horrible situation in New York, and I think this is a good quarterback. And you can cast off these people too quickly, and I'm really pleased for the success that he's having in other places. Minnesota last year, Seattle this year. I think that offensive line is greatly enhanced. Gray Zabel was a great draft pick for the Seattle Seahawks at guard. And I think that without Nick Bosa, as much as Green Bay without Micah Parsons, that pass rush, other people.
There is no pass rush.
Yeah, other people or other linemen were enhanced because of the attention Nick Bosa got. Now you take him out of the situation. San Francisco don't have the pass rush that they have. And if you give any quarterback that little bit extra half second or second to find their guy, that is all Sam Darnold needs to try and find Jackson Smith and Jigba. So I am with you on who is going to progress. I don't think they cover that 7.5 point spread. I'm going to go for a little bit of a closer game up in the Pacific Northwest.
Unreal. So it's a case of who's made the better argument, folks. You make the decision. We're through 2 games on Saturday night. Point to yourself all you like. Do you feel you are a man of destiny, Daggers?
I do feel I'm a man of destiny, and you know what? That has served me well so far.
Well, we will see this weekend, won't we? We have a divergence of opinion on both the Bills and Broncos and the Niners and Seahawks, which leads us nicely onto the Sunday night slate of games. We start 6 p.m. UK time with the Houston Texans on a short turnaround, going to Foxborough, the home of the Patriots, to play Mike Vrabel's New England team. The Patriots, 3-point favourites coming into this game. This has to be a defensive struggle, doesn't it?
You'd think so. Given the way that D'Amico Ryans' side played and the way that Mike Vrabel's did as well. I mean, it was carnage. Their defense, was just swarming. I mean, really swarming, and didn't give any opportunity whatsoever to that LA Chargers. Now, look, I know the Chargers were suffering on the offensive line, but they just simply had no answers. And talk about quarterbacks getting flustered and getting beat up. Well, Justin Herbert, well, he had a night up in Foxborough. And this is where I have my reservations about the Houston Texans. I've got no problems with their defense. I think the defense is going to play well. But I look at the two QBs, and I think Drake May has been playing at an MVP level this year. He's got two very fine running backs, Trevion Henderson and Ramondo Stevenson. Stevenson really good in the pass game, actually in that previous victory over the LA Chargers. He has got Stephon Diggs. He has got, Keyshawn Boots. He's got loads of sort of these middling receivers who just managed to find their way to get open. Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper. And I just think, and I look at the way that CJ Stroud played against Pittsburgh, and I was concerned. It looked as though he was looking for coverage, and the way that the defense, rather than actually just focusing on taking how many times did he mishandle a slap? Was it 3? And that's in shotgun. Yeah. So that was a big, big warning to me. And I just wonder if CJ Stroud has the game against that Patriots defense to try and overcome on the road. And I just don't think they have. I don't think the Steelers had many offensive parts. You shut down DK Metcalf, there's not a great deal for them to, especially with their defensive front. But I just feel that Drake May has more options. I think he's more poised. I think he's more composed. He is at home. And I fancy that the Patriots, I don't necessarily see this being a massively close encounter, in that I just don't see the Houston Texans putting up many points against the Patriots.
I was just desperately trying to find the line Mike Tirico came out with on Sunday night for the game between New England and the Chargers, because it was a great line. I can't remember the receiver's name. I'm pretty sure it's for New England, but he makes a catch, and Mike Tirico comes out with a line: the second most catches all time for Eastern Washington University behind Cooper Kupp. And I was like, if that isn't research for you, then I don't know what is. Mike Tirico, I doff my cap to you. That was an awesome commentary line. If you're not in the broadcasting business, you're probably thinking, what on earth are you on about? I loved it. So all props to Mike Tirico. But returning to this Patriots game against the Texans on Sunday night, I'm genuinely concerned about what I saw from CJ Stroud. I expected more from him in the Pittsburgh game, and the wheels were just off for the first 2.5 quarters. Christian Kirk makes a great play with a run after the catch to find the end zone to score the opening touchdown for the Texans. But that aside, CJ Stroud offered very little, and I compare that to what we saw from Drake May in a really physical game. It was a great game, Chargers-Patriots. And yes, he made a couple of errors, and there were turnovers, which the defense bailed them out of because he put them in a bind. But he also made plays in a tough game. And you need to have somebody that can do that. And I think Drake May is better for that experience as well this weekend. And the other thing I thought, seeing, as you do, the teams put out post-game locker room footage. You saw Mike Vrabel address the team afterwards. And as he's talking and telling the players how proud he is to be part of this group and how proud of the way they stood up and played that game, I'm thinking this is a team that has been molded in the image of their head coach. Yeah. I've always liked Mike Vrabel. I think he did a great job in Tennessee. And I thought it at the time, and I'm sure now, the Titans made a mistake in letting him walk out of that door. But their loss is New England's gain. And they're at home again against a Texans team that has a terrific defense. You look at the stats. Defense travels. The number 1 ranked overall defense in the NFL. 6th against the pass. 4th defending the run. 2nd in points allowed. 17.4 a game. And 3rd in takeaways this season. The problem is their offense has got to make plays. Their defense can't bail them out every time. Pittsburgh, we've known all year long, that Aaron Rodgers isn't the Aaron Rodgers of 10 years ago, and he doesn't really have the weapons around him. Well, watch out, because New England have the young, up-and-coming sensation, a potential face of the NFL in years to come, not just the franchise, but the league, in Drake May. And he finds way to make plays. He has a dual-headed monster at running back in Stevenson and Henderson. He has players on the outside able to make plays on the ball, contested catches, run after the catch, yards after the catch as well. And these contests often come down to one or two plays and who can make them. Well, if Will Anderson Jr. and co for the Texans can't do what they did to Aaron Rodgers on Monday night, then the Texans aren't winning this game for me. And I look at it, 3-point favorites. It is going to be that tight. It really is. And we saw that to a degree with the Chargers game in Foxborough last weekend. But the Patriots prevailed there. And they're going to prevail this weekend as well. They're going back to the AFC Championship, folks. And Belichick and Brady aren't names on their roster card going into that game. Give me Vrabel. Give me May. Give me the Patriots at -3.
Yeah, and I am absolutely aligned with you on this one. There is so much to like about this New England team. Just from it seems as though they are one of the most complete teams in the league, and the turnaround is just astonishing from Mike Vrabel. I'm with you. I really like him as a head coach. Josh McDaniels is where he's supposed to be. I know he's had a couple of head coaching gigs, but he is still one of the brightest offensive coordinators in the entire league. He's got different types of weapons, different types of running backs. I think we'll see a lot of throws from Drake May into the flat. Let's negate that pass rush. Let's actually
get the ball out fast.
Get the ball out fast. Let's forget about Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. Let's take them out of let's completely negate them. Now, okay, you've got Jalen Petrie, and yes, you've got Derek Stingley, and so that might be taken care of. So where is it? I'm going to say the weak link, and it's very difficult to say that about a Houston Texans side. But if you're going to, that little middle 5 to 10 yard zone of the linebacking core, that sort of area, I think that's where New England attack.
Hunter Henry has to have a big game for me. We saw Pat Fryermuth make some really tough contested catches for Pittsburgh on Monday night. Again, like you, I think they're strong on the defensive line. They're strong in the secondary. But if you can get that ball out quickly, if you can get the run game, just make him think about the run game, give you a play action option as well. And let's not forget, Drake May is more than capable of making plays with his legs. And I will tell you what I saw on tape on Monday night was there were holes that a younger Aaron Rodgers would have gone through and made plays with his legs. Well, he can't do that right now. Drake May certainly can.
Yeah, he can. And he ran well against the LA Chargers the other day. He made plays with his legs. I think he had one 35-yard rush or 35-yard scramble. I should say. The one thing I will say to the Houston Texans, ride Woody Marks. Right, this is a good young running back. He's fresh. It's his first playoff appearance. I thought he ran the ball really, really well against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who, let's be right, they were pretty solid defensively up until the final quarter, where they were just gassed. They were absolutely shattered. They've been on the field for that long. Let's take a little bit of pressure off C.J. Stroud. Why don't we? Let's hand the ball off. Let's try and get this running game going. And that would be what I would suggest to the Houston Texans. But overall, I just can't see them putting the points on the board against this very talented and vibrant New England Patriots side. So,
what is your pick?
I've told you, I'm aligned with you. I'm totally aligned with you. I think I think the Patriots do it, and I think they win by more than 3.
At last, we have consensus. Daggers has seen the light. The man of destiny comes over.
Yeah, I tell you what. With your smugness, if any of these results go my way, you're just getting a barrage on social media. That's it. I'm going to troll you for a week.
Well, it would be nice to have a flicker. That's all I'm going to say. With that in mind, one team who did more than flicker last weekend were the Chicago Bears. They're the number 2 seeded team in the NFC. They're back in Chicago at Soldier Field. These Bears fans are beside themselves because they haven't just exceeded expectations for them coming into this season. They're so far beyond them now, they don't know what to think. And who comes to town but Sean McVay and the LA Rams? I think this is a tough matchup for Chicago, but I think for the neutral, I think it's hugely entertaining because you never know what Sean McVay has in store. If this season has taught us one thing about Ben Johnson, it's taught us that he's able to adapt to the players that he has at his disposal, and he's able to surprise everybody and make plays happen. And this team this season has just found ways to win football games. I'll be honest with you right now, Daggers. The Rams are 3.5-point favourites on the road. The total points line is 51. I think we're going to see points scored in this game, by the way. And it's the game I'm looking forward to more than any other this weekend.
Yeah, I agree with you on all counts. It's mouth-watering. We say it a lot, but there is so much to like. It's in Chicago. Soldier Field, once again, will be absolutely vibrant, and there are certain quarterbacks that can go into opposition houses and try and pull off a win. And you've got Matthew Stafford with all of his experience, with the Super Bowl ring to his name. He is going to go in. And I think, Richard, I think I don't think this is going to be as close as some people think. And and the reason behind that, I think it's one step too far for this Chicago Bears side. I think Sean McVay, it's a little bit like Obi-Wan and Anakin Skywalker in Star Wars. Ben Johnson playing the role of Anakin and Obi-Wan. Sean McVay, even though he's not old himself, actually, but I think Sean McVay is one of those, he's the mad professor, isn't he? He remembers every single play that he's ever called in every single situation. And I think his experience of playoff football, and I think with that defensive line he's got, Puka Nacua is the best receiver in football. The contested catches that he makes are absolutely outstanding. Davante Adams, who wasn't that much of a factor in their previous victory, I think he again will turn up. And these 13 sets that the LA Rams like running with the 3 tight ends and 3 useful tight ends. You don't know which ones are going to block. You don't know which ones are going to come out. And it's this scheming that Sean McVay has. And I think if the Chicago Bears go approach this game in the way that they did against the Green Bay Packers, they ain't coming back from 14 or 10 points down. I think if the Rams manage to get ahead, I think they keep that lead. Blake Corum, exciting runner for the LA Rams. I just think that this is one step too far for a Chicago Bears team, which absolutely is on the way up. They've got some great pieces. You think about that receiving corps. Luther Burden III, who's had just a breakout rookie season. Colston Loveland, how well he played against Green Bay. I think it was 10 catches for 130 yards. And you still got DJ Moore. You still got Roma Dunze. So they have the players. They are young. They are an exciting and vibrant team. And I'm looking forward to actually seeing their progress over the next couple of years. But I just think that Stafford in the Chicago Bears house, he knows how to deal with it. I think they will scheme fantastically well. I have got the Los Angeles Rams covering that 3 points.
So you've got the Rams at minus 3.5 points.
Yes, I have.
I will tell you this. If I've learned anything over the course of this season, it is do not write off the Chicago Bears. Not only have they got a great head coach in Ben Johnson, but Caleb Williams, in his second year as a starting quarterback, is not only finding his feet. I think with some of the plays he made in last week's playoff win over Green Bay, he has found his feet, and he has that X factor about him. But I do want to just flag up one thing. In previous two games, one of the main reasons as well that I've gone for the Seahawks over the Niners and the Patriots over the Texans is because for the 49ers, there's no George Kittle, who's an important part of their offense after his injury last weekend. And for the Texans, it's unlikely they're going to have receiver Nico Collins after he left with a heavy head knock and is in concussion protocol now as well. For the LA Rams, even though he's had a few injury issues, Davante Adams was out on the field last week against Philadelphia. I don't think for 1 second he was 100%. But the fact he was on the field just puts a bit more stress and strain on the opposing defense. And that's a problem coming into this game for the Chicago Bears, because as much as I love the way they came back last weekend and the plays that were made and they overturned an 18-point deficit, I will tell you, in the second half of that game, they gave the Packers more than enough opportunities to close out the games. For all the wow plays that were made, there were turnover plays that were made. And Green Bay didn't just blow an 18-point lead. They didn't take any advantage of any of the multiple opportunities Chicago gave them to actually ice the game and put it to bed. The Rams aren't doing that. The Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford Rams, if you're giving them a gift, they're snapping your hand off and they're going to compound the issue for you. And you look at this team coming into this game, they are the number one ranked total offense. They lead the league in passing. They're the number one ranked scoring offense. They're scoring 30.5 points a game during the course of the regular season. And they scored 34 on the road in a win in Carolina last week. They scored 37 against Arizona, only 24 in a surprise defeat in Atlanta, but in an overtime defeat in Seattle, they put 37 points on the board against that Seahawks defense, 41 against the Detroit Lions, 45 on the road against Arizona, 28 in that surprise loss back at the end of November to Carolina. The point is, you have to score 30 points against this Rams defense to have any chance at all coming into this game. And sure, the offense for the Bears is ranked in the top 10 in overall, passing, rushing, points scored. But they're going to give you chances. And the Rams defense, they're young defense. They're a surprising defense. They do just enough to be able to complement the best offense in the NFL. Unless Caleb Williams and the Bears play a clean game, I said it coming into the Bears game last week for the Green Bay Packers. No Micah Parsons, no chance Green Bay. And it was precisely because I didn't think they could close out the game. Yeah. Well, if Caleb Williams and this Bears offense don't play a clean game, listen up, Bears fans. It's your turn this week. You have no chance in winning this game and progressing to the NFC Championship. You cannot commit a single turnover against Sean McVay's LA Rams because he's got a quarterback at the helm in Matthew Stafford who's long in the tooth. He's won the Super Bowl and he's still the MVP favorite for this season for me as well in the National Football League. He will make you pay. And as much as I've been impressed by Caleb Williams, and as much as he's grown, and as much as I like him, and I do, Bears fans, he is not yet at a point where I'm going to hang my hat on him and say he is going to play that clean game that gives your team the best possible chance of winning. He takes chances. I don't think you can do that in this game because the Rams will make you pay. And they will make the Bears pay this weekend. I'm with you, Daggers. Give me the LA Rams. Give me the LA Rams to cover at -3.5 points and progress to the NFC Championship game where they will face the Seattle Seahawks. Yeah,
I couldn't agree. And may I thank you as well for not mentioning the way that the LA Rams played and the amount of points they put on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That is unusually nice from you. So I will take any victory that I can get. But I'm with you on the Sunday games. I think we both are in alignment on the Sunday games. And but yet again, I go back to this is the business end. Part of me is kind of sad because I know it's coming to an end. And it's only next week. There's only 2 games, and then there's one. And then the season's going to be over, and we're going to be like, oh man, we've got another 8 months to wait before. And I know other things happen in the free agency and draft and stuff like that. So it is, I think, the best weekend in football. I hope everybody watching enjoys it. We're going to enjoy it. We're going to love it. We are going to be glued to our sets. Me over here in India and you back in the freezing cold of the UK. But it is fabulous. It's what we watch for. It's why we're fans. And even though our respective teams are not necessarily in the mix, we can still get us so much joy from watching these games. It is the best weekend. Have a good one, everybody.
I've got to tell you, Daggers, the fact our respective teams aren't in the mix, I think makes it better this time around.
Yes, it really does.
Okay, let's wrap this up then, Daggers. Let's recap.
Right, I'm going to write this down, actually.
The 4 divisional round games. If you're writing it down, Daggers, just to be clear, coming into the divisional round, Richard Graves has a 4-2 record against the line.
I'm not
Charles
writing
Dagnall.
that down.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted transparency. That's all I'm saying.
I'm writing down this week's picks.
Okay, then. Here we go. Saturday's 2 games. Bills at Broncos. The Broncos are slender 1-point favourites. I've been on the Broncos bandwagon all season long. They're my pick to win it all in Santa Clara, and I see no reason why they can't get the job done this weekend. I've got the Broncos at -1. Daggers, the self-proclaimed man of destiny, says the Broncos are losing this game. It'll be the Bills at +1. You make your own decision on that one. Then we're on to the Niners at Seattle against the Seahawks, the Pacific Northwest. It's going to be a barn-burning atmosphere on Saturday night, Sunday morning UK time. Seahawks, big 7.5-point favourites. I think injuries catch up with San Francisco here. I'm taking Seattle to cover at -7.5. The faith lingers on with Daggers. He's taking the Niners at +7.5.
Yeah.
If not to win the game outright, at least to cover the spread.
I think they cover. I think the Seahawks win, but they cover the spread, the 49ers.
Okay, and we know we don't like acrimony on this show, so I'm delighted to say in the pair of Sunday games, we are of an accord. The Texans at Patriots. Patriots 3-point favourites. Both of us say New England get the job done and cover at -3. Before we round out the divisional round of games in Chicago, the Bears' dream lingers at this moment in time because they host the Rams and they're harbouring hopes of going to the NFC Championship game next weekend. Daggers and I say, sorry, Chicago, it ends this weekend. You're 3.5-point dogs at home to the Rams. We both like LA to win big. Take the Rams at -3.5. As always, don't forget, I actively encourage you to hit us up on social media. X, it's Richard Graves 1, Instagram, RDG Media UK, or there's a Facebook page as well, Richard Graves RDG Media. Daggers will be commentating on cricket out there in India, but if you are familiar with his socials, the NFL is never too far away, Daggers.
Oh, it never is. And you can catch me on just at Charles Dagnall on everything, on X and on Instagram at Charles Dagnall. And especially if I do Richard Graves this week, please, I encourage you to get in touch with me and I shall pass all of the messages on.
Yeah, I love the enthusiasm, Daggers. It's like a kid in a candy store. But do you know what I learned from a very young age, Daggers?
Go on.
It's the hope that kills you.
Yeah, that is a mantra that I have lived by my entire sporting life. And so that is not a surprise to me. I just can't wait. I like that we're in accordance with some. We differ on others. That is what this sport is about and why we love it so much.
I mean, in theory, you realise that if the results all went my way again this week, you would have to pick directly opposite everything I think for the final 3 games just to get back to 500.
Exactly right. And so I will have to make arguments for things that I genuinely don't believe. So this is a this is a pivotal weekend for me. It really is.
It's what you might call moving weekend.
It is moving weekend. I'll tell you what, I'll be moving from India if I'm wrong, and I'll never tell you where I am, so that we can't record next week or there's going to be no Wi-Fi. But let me tell you, Richard, and I will leave you with this. I am, if anything, a man of destiny.
And on that note, folks, enjoy the divisional round. Thanks once again, Charles Dagnall. We will see you next week somehow, some way. And for everybody else, enjoy the game. So long, everybody.
Subscribe to Graves on Gridiron wherever you listen to podcasts. And keep up to date with the latest on Twitter. Search for Richard Graves 1. That's Richard Graves, the number 1.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.